everyone, welcome to Cambo Gardens again. My name's Katherine Taylor, I'm the head gardener here, and this is the third in the series of little films that we're doing for Discover Scottish Gardens Spring Flower Festival. And today we're just going to have a little walk around the wall garden at Cambo, have a look at what's flowering, maybe talk a little bit about some of the projects that we're working on over the next few months, and just show you what it's looking like on this lovely sunny day in April. So here we're just coming through the gate to the wall garden, and we're looking across the garden, which is about 2.5 acres in size and has a burn running through the middle. You can just see the bridge there, and the slopes of the garden run down into the burn, and this side, the west side of the garden, tends to have a slightly more formal character, and then the other side is a little bit more contemporary and modern. So here you'll see, just as people come in through the gate here, we've just got some pictures of what the garden looks like in the summer, and that's just to show people what it's like when we're not in this sort of early stage of the year. And behind this we've got what we call the calendar border, which is one of the borders that we're trying to give a bit of a makeover to at the moment. So you'll see this is a work in progress really. It's become very infested, so we're just going through the clumps, trying to replant things and get rid of some of the perennial weeds. So we'll walk down towards the burn. So these beds here we call the bridge beds because they are either side of a bridge across the burn, and these are quite a dry area of the garden, so we tend to use quite a lot of stress tolerant plants here. So we've got lavenders and rosemaries, this nice stachys that people will know, which is the lamb's ear plant, and then we've got the little anthimus that's coming out in the back there, and in a week or so's time that'll just be covered with white and yellow daisies. And these beds that go over the burn here, this used to be one of the old glass houses, so you can see the remains of the structure there, just with the little colourful wallflowers poking over. Again, more of the bridge beds here, and then Penny's garden, which was an area that used to be gardened by Sir Peter's Aunt Penny, and this is just somewhere where we display lovely little jewel-like plants. So the daffodils that we've got here, the minnow daffodils, they're still flowering really beautifully, and the abretia, which is a common plant that you'll see growing over walls, that's a lovely purple plant there. And then if we pan round, you'll see this lovely cornus tree here, which is the wedding cake tree, known as it's Cornus controversa variegatus, and it has these really lovely little red tips which then burst forth with the lovely yellow flowers and these tears like a wedding cake when it flowers. So now we've just moved up the garden into the double herbaceous border, which is one of the really lovely areas at this time of year, because it's covered in all these wonderful red and purple and orange tulips. And we've also got this very nice little yellow flower here, which is an anemone ranunculoides, which is just a carpet of lovely yellow flowers at this time of year, and then that will just disappear away completely as the rest of the herbaceous starts to grow. So this is a mixture of quite late season naturalistic planting, which was planted by one of the previous head gardeners, Elliot Forsyth, and it's a really lovely mixture of late season perennials and grasses. And we've got the buddleias at the back, the shrubs, and then the prunus hedge as well as a backdrop to that. So this is really starting to grow now, and will just continue to get more interesting as the season goes on. So we're up here on what we call the Lilac Walk. This was planted up with some of the profits from the first snowdrops that Catherine Erskine sold back in the 1980s. So the lilac bushes that are here, which we've been pruning for renovation this year, these will hopefully be flowering in another week or two, and the whole of the walk is lined with these really lovely electric blue muscari. And then on the left hand side we've got roses, and here we've got a pear which we've been trying to renovate this year, so we're hoping that's going to start becoming a bit more productive. And then as Charlotte just pans round, you can see here ahead of you the cut flower garden, which was a project that we started a couple of years ago. Not much going on in there at the moment, but there's lots of annual seeds growing in the glass house which will go in there later on. And then looking down here, again, another project in progress. This is the double rose border, which we are clearing out. We've planted new roses here, and we're hoping in the next few weeks to get it planted up with some herbaceous perennials. So we're now in the contemporary garden, or transition garden, and again this was planted a few years ago to demonstrate the transition from a meadow through to a woodland planting. So at this end we've got the more meadow-like plants, and this is a camassia here that's just coming into flower, and that's a lovely bulbous plant which flowers around April-May time and really multiplies really well in sort of fairly damp conditions. And then you can really just see we've just cut this back. It's one of the last borders that we cut back in the season because the grasses look really lovely through the winter period. So we just cut this back last week, and this week's job is to get in here and have a really good weed and try and sort out some of the borders that have become a bit overgrown. And then just looking round, at the other end of this garden is the potager garden, which is an ornamental garden which we plant with lots of annuals, both vegetables and herbs. Looking a bit empty at the moment apart from the tulips, and that's because we've just cleared it out, and again we've got lots of annuals growing in the glass house which will be going in here later in the summer, and hopefully by August it should be a good nice showing of colour and all sorts of growth. And this year the theme is going to be all about healing and recovery. Last year was a rainbow potager in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and this year we're hoping for something about healing and getting better. So here we are just outside the range of glass houses here at Cambo, which were restored about 3 or 4 years ago, and we had some new Alitex glass houses put in, and they've just provided a really good growing environment. And this border in front, which we just refer to as the glass house border, is a really lovely south-facing border with the nice warmth of the glass house behind, so that allows us to grow some interesting tender plants, which perhaps you might not expect to grow in this corner of Scotland. Just walk down and have a look. This is a lovely euphorbia here. This is Euphorbia mellifera, which is the honey euphorbia, quite a tender one, grows into a big shrub and has a really wonderful honey sweet smell in the spring. And behind that we've got Melianthus major, which at the moment looks a bit leggy, but will send up some lovely branches of interesting shaped pinnate leaves. And then other things, we've got irises, we've got lots of agapanthus, we've got these wonderful cistuses, we've got a series of these big bushes, and these will be covered in great big rose-like flowers, and they'll just flower for months during the summer. So we're doing a bit of moving around in this border and hoping to put some more interesting plants in over the next couple of years, but it's a really good place to grow some interesting things.